And welcome to episode 151 of Habs Unfiltered. I am your host, Blaine Pudvey. I'm joined by my co-host, Treg Wilson.
Morning.
Matt Smith.
Good morning.
And our special guest, newly reunited with the hockey news, Lyle Richardson, a.k.a. Spector's Hockey.
Good morning, everybody.
It's great to have you back on the show again, Lyle. We appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy morning to spend it with us three, how do I say this nicely? Losers?
I would have gone with miscreants.
Miscreants? Yes.
Hoodlums.
Losers is harsh. You guys don't strike me as losers. You strike me as more of a miscreant crowd, which means you're my people.
There you go. We're not quite as salty yet, but we'll get there.
Which is hard to believe coming from some sailors. There you are.
We're trying.
Mm-hmm.
So, big weekend. We're recording this. It's Saturday morning, May 29th. The Montreal Canadiens are going to be hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs for Game 6 in the first round. And there's going to be fans in the stands. So, Lyle, why don't you give us a little bit of your thoughts of what you're hoping to see tonight?
Okay, well, let me take off my my unbiased journalist hat and put on my Habs hat. Well, right off the bat, I think even though there's only going to be 2,500 fans in the building, I think they're going to be very noisy, and I think that's going to it should give the Habs a lift. You know, it really should. It's going to be the first time in 14 months that they've got actual fans cheering for them. And they're coming off, obviously, a very big win in Game 5. You know, it was definitely a roller coaster. I mean, you know, they jump out to a 3-0 lead. Everything looks great. Leafs battle back, catch a couple of breaks, and then we get, you know, Alex Galchenyuk doing his former team a solid with a blind pass at the blue line, and setting up the Caulfield Suzuki goal. So it's obviously, of course, it's a must win. You know, Game 6, do or die. I expect they'll come out with the same amount of energy we saw in Game 5, which I have to say, by the way, that was the best game in this series I've seen them play, and that includes Game 1, because Game 1, I think both sides were a bit off their stride after the Tavares injury. That really shook up both teams. So you know, that wasn't really either team's best game, but this one was definitely their best, and they're going to need to come out with that same kind of energy. But they also need to be prepared, because the Leafs came out flat. They really did. I think the Leafs came out thinking that they had Game 5 in the bag, and they very quickly found out, no, the Habs weren't going to roll over for them. So I think they better be prepared that the Leafs are going to be coming out far more motivated this time around.
I agree. Treg, you had a comment?
Yeah, I thought it was the Canadiens' best game. However, I didn't think they played a full 60 minutes. They got the lead, and then they kind of sat back and protected the lead, which never works, especially against a high-powered team like the Leafs. My biggest thing, I think Montreal is going to come out tonight with the fans. They're going to come out like they did in Game 5. But I think the Leafs are going to try to match them. I think, Lyles, you're right. I don't think the Leafs are going to want to get this over with and get it over with tonight. I feel it's going to be a good back and forth game, and it's probably going to come down to the wire. I did predict the Leafs in 6, so I'm not going to be shocked if the Leafs win, but I also won't be shocked if the Habs pull off a win and push to Game 7. They have a bit of the momentum going for them right now. And it's going to be a fun and interesting hockey game to watch. And now that I've said that, it's probably going to end up like the first game, boring and trapped. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Now, we saw in the last game, in Game 5, the young guns for the Canadiens were the ones that stepped up, that led the way. Guys like Kotkaniemi, Suzuki, Caulfield. They were essentially the leaders in pushing the pace and leading the team. Do you see Dom Ducharme finally letting Romanov join that group? Because as Gustafsson played okay, but it's clear Romanov offers much more to his game than Gustafsson ever does. So, Lyle, what do you think?
I think we're not going to see Romanov at all. I think Ducharme's going to come back with the same, pretty much the same lineup that we saw in Game 5. Because hey, if that chemistry works, well, you keep it together. And I can understand that to a degree. It's a possibility we could see Jake Evans back. That was floated as a possibility. I don't know who he replaces, but if it's Kotkaniemi, I think everybody in Habs Nation will have a fit. But I gotta say, guys, I'm wondering how much of these roster decisions are being made by Ducharme and how much influence Marc Bergevin is having. Now, I know we have all, to our various degrees, over the past several years, while the Habs have been rebuilding, we have, for the most part, supported Bergevin's moves. We believe, and justifiably, he's won more trades than he's lost. He's done a terrific job stockpiling young talent, stockpiling draft picks to use as trade chips and that sort of thing. But I really feel there's a whiff of desperation coming out of the front office here now. And I think it's sort of like, okay, we've acquired these guys at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline. Even though he didn't give up a lot to get Eric Stahl, to get Eric Gustafsson, to get John Merrill, there really is a feeling here that the decisions here on the roster are being made from up high. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm even though I write for a living, cover for a living, even the scribes in Montreal who are closest to this don't know what's going on. But that's kind of like the speculation that, Bergevin is pushing these guys into the lineup because I acquired them. We got to get in here. We're going with the veterans, and that's that. That's the feeling. If we're wrong, I'm wrong, and I have no problem admitting it. But that's the feeling that I have because keeping Romanov out of the lineup makes no sense to me. I understand he's young. I understand he's a rookie. So is Cole Caulfield. Look what he's done. He's gotten better in every damn game he's been in this series since he came in. Look at Kotkaniemi, not a rookie, third-year guy. Look at the impact he's had since he started playing in this series. So, I mean, no offense to John Merrill, but I'm not seeing anything from him that suggests that he's any better than Romanov. As you said, Gustafsson played okay. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't outstanding. He barely noticed him. When the Canadians need offense, when they need someone to move that puck out of their zone quickly, when they need somebody who can actually lay on a hit without taking a dumb penalty in the process, they're benching that guy. They're benching Romanov. Romanov is a superb first pass defenseman. You need that breakout pass. He's got it. He's got that capability. We've seen it. So why he's being benched? The only thing I can figure is either unless he's nursing an injury and they don't want to reveal it in case they want to put him in the lineup, or has there been some disciplinary measure going on we're not aware of? Or is it just they don't have any confidence in him? In which case, that's terrible. And that's a reflection on the coaching and not on Romanov. Yes, he's a kid. Yes, he's a rookie. This is his first season in the NHL, but he hasn't played terribly this year. If you're afraid of him making a mistake, well, take a look at some of the veterans in your lineup. They've been making mistakes up plenty in this series. So anyway, sorry for babbling, but that's the bone that sticks in my craw in this whole thing right now. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I speak for most of us.
Based on that usage, win or lose, do you think Ducharme has earned his job for next season?
No, I don't. I have seen nothing from him. And listen, I'm not saying that that's a reflection of him as a coach overall, but as a head coach, I've seen nothing from him this year that suggests that. That being said, you could say, well, it's because of the pandemic, the condensed schedule, then he's trying to get used to trying to come up with a system, and it's hard to do, in a compressed schedule. And then they had the week and a half where they had to be sidelined because of the COVID thing, and then that compressed their schedule more. And yes, I get that, but you know what? There are 31 other teams in this freaking league or 30 teams that face the same issues. Some of them worse than others. And some of them were able to cope. Some of them were able to adjust, either because they had the roster depth to do it, or they had the coaching to do it. So, no, I don't think he's earned it. But I will say this, and I said this earlier this week, I could be wrong, but it would not surprise me to see Jeff Molson if the Habs get eliminated tonight or get eliminated in Game 7, or if they actually make it to the next round and get their ass kicked in that one. It would not surprise me to see Jeff Molson sit there doing the end of season press conference saying that he's bringing back Bergevin. They're bringing back Ducharme because of all the reasons I just cited. It was the COVID. It was the shortened schedule. We had injuries. We don't think that he had enough time, blah, blah, blah. But no, I've seen nothing to suggest that he should have that job next year.
Matt?
So I'll just touch a little bit on the Romanov thing before I jump into Ducharme. So my thoughts on that is, you want to bring energy to the lineup. You want to bring that youth and that exuberance to the lineup. And what's going to bring that then? 2,500 fans that are going to be cheering on the team. And I think that the team itself is going to have that energy, but you put that into a player that already comes with that sort of intensity. I think it would be it'd be beneficial to him. I think it'd be beneficial to the lineup. And I do agree with you that for the games that I've been able to see, that Merrill and Gustafsson haven't really done much to wow me. And when you look at Romanov and the fact that they signed him early last year to bring him into the bubble just to be around the team, and now when it matters, you're in a playoff position, you're in Game 6, you're fighting for the rest of your season. You've got this guy sitting on the bench, or not even sitting on the bench, sitting in the stands. And then when it comes to Ducharme, I completely agree with you as well, Lyle. I don't find that Ducharme has done anything to really cement himself into this position. I believe that maybe the coaching search is already on in the background. It's really hard to say. There's only so many francophone coaches out there that you can choose from, and which is unfortunate, because there are English-speaking coaches out there that I'm sure a lot of fans would be able to get behind and they would rally behind. But we know the way this organization works, and when it comes to using the veterans over the rookies, I can see the same thing. Unfortunately, I don't think Romanov's going to be in, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Jake Evans is good to go. I feel that he played really well in the first game. We'll see. I think he was one of their better players down the stretch.
I think with Evans, if he is ready to go, I don't think Kotkaniemi is going to be the guy that they take out. I think it'll be Tatar. He was supposed to be the one to sit the last time, and he did well in that one game after he was told, he got 5 hits, got an assist, played pretty well, but then after that, disappeared again.
Yeah, but that line as a whole, though, has really not done much. The only person that has a point on that whole line, which we're used to seeing produce at every level, is Tatar. He's got an assist. Other than that, there's not a single point on that whole line.
I know a guy wrote an article about Tatar coming out of the lineup. I won't name any names with this guy. And the reasons I pointed out about Tatar's not a playoff performer. He has 11 points in 67 career playoff games. That's, for a guy who scores 25 goals a year, that's just unacceptable. As a matter of
I just wanted to say too, I get ripped over the coals a couple of times by saying that the Habs will probably cut ties with them because of his inconsistency. And I have people come back and say, what do you mean inconsistent? Look at how many goals he scores in the regular season. It's like, do you watch him in the playoffs?
Yeah.
That's the inconsistency.
This is very much I'm not going to say a tryout, but this is very much a look at me, I'm worth this much money, I'm worth this much of your time, I'm worth this much to the team for a lot of these players. And the guys have to come out and they gotta get out there, and they've got to fly, and they've got to support each other. I look at Armia, and Armia's best game was arguably in the last game.
But Armia is
he's
every
the same
5 games type
he
guy.
is. That's very true.
And
he still outperforms. And he still outperforms Tatar.
Yeah. And the regular season, he'll score 3 goals in a game, then you won't see anything from him for 5-6 games.
That's right.
But to go back to what I was saying, Tatar, it's 11 points in 37 games, not 67, but he only has 68 shots. That's what I look at as more of a deterrent, is that he's not even shooting in the play. It's not that he's not scoring, but he's only averaging less than 2.2 shots a game. For a guy who's a 25 goal scorer, you should have 3 to 5 shots a game, in my opinion. You're the guy they're going to shoot. And he showed it in the last game. He'd go to the net, and then he'd turn around to try to find someone to pass to. He'd go to the net, then he'd turn it. and that's just not acceptable. I believe with Romanov, however, Ducharme said in his presser that he didn't want to say into the press why Romanov is the reasons for Romanov sitting. He'd rather talk to the players himself. I don't know if that's just him trying to protect his own ass, or I'm not. I mean, we all know here I'm not a Ducharme fan, so but I'm suspecting. I've heard rumors there's a little injury. He has a little injury, and they just don't want to put him in. I don't know if that's an excuse. I didn't hear that anywhere from the team themselves. That's just internet talk. But I see no reason, injury or not, if it's not that big of an injury, because I've seen him practice. He stays late. He does his thing. At least he's better than Gustafsson. If you don't think he's better than Merrill, coming from a coaching perspective, you can't say he's not better than Gustafsson, because all Gustafsson has is one thing, and that's offense. That's it.
He didn't give any of that in the last game.
He didn't do anything.
In his defense, however, he did have the best power play opportunity that the Canadians had in the last game, which was a shot that was sailed high over the net, which is more a shot against the Habs power play than anything else.
Can I just say, by the way, those guys look on the power play, they look like they're handling a live grenade.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's like there's no control. They don't settle it down. They're not, there's no clear shots through the passing lane. There's, they consistently fail to get good traffic in front of the net.
Yeah.
And that's down to Alex Burrows. Alex Burrows was brought in to be the power play guru. And instead the power play, which to be fair, wasn't that good earlier in the season, but after they get rid of Kirk Muller and brought in Burrows, it's just gotten worse.
Yeah. They had the initial spark. They had that initial spark when he came in. It looked like, oh, things are starting to turn around. But you completely hit the nail on the head about the grenade reference. It's 100% true. Nobody wants it on their stick. Yeah. It's quick shots on net or up into the stands, whatever. I know there's usually a netting over top. I think they're shooting at the wrong one. So
they're just passing it around the perimeter. Even when they get control in the zone, it's just I'll pass to you, and I'll pass to you, and I'll pass to you.
Yeah.
Just shoot the puck.
It's at the point now they may as well decline to take the penalty or haul off and hit somebody and take the extra 2 and play 4-on-4.
It's just brutal. I mean, it's so rare to see. I can't say I've never seen a power play that bad in all my years watching hockey on different teams. Yeah, I've seen teams go almost an entire playoff series without getting a power play goal. But this is absolutely brutal. And, it's just not working. It's just at this point, it's just just tell them, okay, boys, just shoot. Treat it like it's overtime. Shoot from anywhere. Just shoot. Yeah. And to Shea Weber's defense, I've seen people been criticizing him. Oh, where's that big shot? That big shot. You guys got to remember, he's still hurt.
He is. Yeah.
I know that people are like, oh yeah, look at him, he came back. He's still hurting. And Brendan Gallagher is still hurting.
He is. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are, God bless them. They're sucking it up and they're coming back, but they may be 50, 60%. 70% of what it should be, especially when you have like a hand injury or a shoulder injury or whatever. So I think when this is all over and done with, we're going to find out, I'm still hurting. I'm going to need surgery and this. So I don't fault them for injuries, but that system is garbage. And if Alex Burrows is back next year as their power play coach, it's not going to be pretty.
It comes down to the coaching, because your guys are hurt. Why are you deploying them in all situations? Let them take a break. Put some of the younger guys out. Change up your power play look. If they're playing hurt anyway, how is it going to hurt your power play to put someone different on there? Yeah. And even when they changed it and put Caulfield in Weber's position, they didn't change the look of the power play at all. It looked exactly the same with just Caulfield instead of Weber. And that's easy to defend when you've already prepared for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we talked about this in one of the other shows. Basically, they just say, "Oh, Caulfield's going to be the shooter. We'll just play up high on Caulfield and not let him shoot."
Yeah.
And that was the entire power play. Yeah. And I mean, Leafs are not that. I mean, they're not bad at PK, but their PK wasn't
Yeah. It's the same
terrific.
thing. It's the same thing as the Suzuki, where he slots in. They know if it goes to him, he's going to walk in. He's going to shoot from that spot.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Like the Canadians have 2, maybe 3 weapons, and 2 of those options are exactly the same. It's just they as you said, they change out who's in that spot.
Yeah.
They either go to Caulfield, they go to Weber, or they go to Suzuki. That's really it. Other than that, throw in a surprise every now and then. Maybe you'll get one in the net.
And if you're going to talk about injuries, all right, so say Romanov is injured. Well, why are you playing Weber and Gallagher injured, but not playing Romanov when he's injured?
Because he's
Yeah.
a rookie.
Yeah.
But that's my point. And
I said that earlier this week. Somebody asked me why aren't they playing him, and I said Romanov has committed the mortal sin of being a rookie who occasionally made mistakes in the regular season.
And Ducharme was supposed to get rid of that because that was a Julian thing. That was it. And Ducharme was supposed to come in and be like, all right, I'm going with the youth. And basically he's Julian 2.0.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say, I don't agree with the whole calls coming from Bergevin, except for that goaltender interference call. That actually came from Bergevin.
That was
But and the reason I say that is because when it comes to Romanov, last year Bergevin said, we're bringing him over here because we think he's playoff ready now. He could play on our team right now in the playoffs. We're going to burn a year of his ELC to practice with the team and that, because we feel if he was eligible to play, he'd be in. If he was making those calls, being the egomaniac everyone thinks Bergevin is, I think he'd be calling to have Romanov in the – personally, that's what I feel. He'd be calling to have Romanov in the lineup.
Maybe he would, but like, again, he's still the same guy though too, Treg. Remember, he's still the same guy who brought in Eric Stahl, who's been invisible, who brought in Gustafsson and Merrill, who haven't done much to move the needle. So
no, I totally agree. I'm just saying, like, I don't think he's making the calls. I think Ducharme's making the calls to protect his team so he can get the job at the end of the year. I think Bergevin's putting the pressure on Ducharme. And Ducharme is like, well, maybe if I play the guys he brought in, he'll look at me as whatever. That's, I mean,
Make the safe call. Make the safe call.
Making the safe
who
call.
you're going to put on the roster.
He's playing not to lose.
Death. Safe
Exactly.
as death. That's John Tortorella says that. And what would John Tortorella know? Him with his Stanley Cup and 2 Jack Adams awards, and apart from a brief flaw in Vancouver, been successful everywhere he's been, various degrees of success. What would he know? Yeah, it's too bad he's not French. I would love to have John Tortorella coach the Canadians, tell you the truth.
Imagine Patrick Waugh as GM and John Tortorella as head coach.
Jesus, no, too much of a soap opera. Pull it back.
Just put an accent on his name and it'll be good, right?
Call him
Tortorella.
Tortorella.
Yeah, Jacques Tortorella, right? It'd be good to go, right?
Yeah.
But
by the way, Patrick Waugh, no, not on this team in any way, shape, or form. I've seen
pushing
people
for it.
I've seen people suggest that. Oh no, he doesn't have to bring him in as GM. Bring him in as coach. Remember, he won the Jack Adams Award too. And it's like, yeah. And then the following year, he got shit canned. Why? Because he wanted to push for a championship now. And Joe Sakic said took a look at the team that he had and said, no, there's still work to be done here. Yeah. And the proof is in the pudding. So.
Are you like me and you think that Roy burying the hatchet with Tremblay is a way of rehabbing his image to try and get a job there?
No.
Yes.
Honest to God, no, I don't. It's like they said, it's been 25 years, right? And as Patrick said himself in the interview, he said, look, we all were in the same circles. We have the same friends, we're all, like they said, I think it just reached a point. And remember, it's like what, Mario pointed out as well. They were roommates during their playing days. Patrick was a rookie. Mario, I believe that was his final season, I think, before injuries. But they were roommates and they got along great, but it was just that dynamic came in. And as we all know, we're not going to relive that horror again. But I just, there is such a thing that, hey, time heals all wounds. It also wounds all heals, but it heals all wounds. And I think that's what the case is with that, with Tremblay and Waugh. It's just time. It was just time.
Well, he's so
the Uber Eats commercial is hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
It's really funny.
In French, it's better. In
French, it's actually haven't seen the English version.
I'm sure it is. I haven't
seen the English version.
Well, the French one has the joke that it's cut out of the English one for some reason, but I don't know why. yeah, the score is 9-1, and he says it's time to pull your goalie. And Ottawa responds with, I think there's a couple championships left in him.
Yeah.
Oh, see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the English version, they show the score. Patrick winks at him, and Mario goes, "Hmm." You know?
Yeah, it's funnier
Which
in
is
the
good
French.
too. But I would have liked, yeah, that version, the French version would have been a lot better if you could have put that in for the English one. Yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately with showing it in English, they would have had to throw an Austin Matthews reference into it or something to actually have it on the air, right? So
I know. Listen,
What did you think of the call on the overtime goal?
okay, I think, look, I know Chris Cuthbert caught a lot of flack for that, but honestly, I also know Chris Cuthbert is a true professional. This is an old Hockey Night in Canada alumni. When that puck went in, it came out so fast. Initially, it did look like it went off the goalpost because it was in and out so fast on that angle that he saw it at. And if you look at it in real time, yeah, at first, until you see, Caulfield put his arms in the air, you don't know at first that went in, so I don't fault him for that. But I saw people on social media going, they can't even bring themselves to say Montreal scored. I'm like, okay, this is Chris Cuthbert. If it was Jim Houston, no, I'm kidding. I kid Jim Houston. But no, Chris Cuthbert, no, that was just an honest mistake.
He got so flustered on that. After that little miscue, that he couldn't recover from it, and it was just a stutter start. Stop.
We made a joke about it on the show, but I said it was a terrible call, but not because of he made it on purpose, but because you're absolutely right. When I first seen it, I was watching on the couch with my wife, and I was like, "Was that in?" But I saw the reaction to Campbell, and when I seen Campbell kind of hang his head, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's in." And then saw the guys.
Yeah, poor Campbell had to put his head down and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to the media and tell them everyone that's my fault."
If you listen to the TSN 690, even Dan Robertson pauses because there's about a 5-second pause before he says goal, and then he does his thing. But I mean, he did get a lot of flack for that. And unlike you, I'm not a huge Chris Cuthbert fan. I still think Sportsnet is very Toronto biased, no matter who is in the announcing booth. But I think they have a script to read, and that's why I think it's. I honestly do think they have a little bit of a Matthews and McDavid. They have to cover 80% of the time because they are the new Canadian heroes.
Yeah, but
that's my opinion on it.
I do agree with you on that part. I mean, listen, I don't buy into a lot of the conspiracy theories and all this. Oh, it's the Toronto Sports Network is what they used to call when TSN used to do their coverage of them. But yeah, with Sportsnet though, they're doing what CBC used to do when they would broadcast whoever was playing Toronto back in the day. Whenever a team would score, they always would shoot for, say, Gilmore's reaction on the bench, or Wendell Clark's reaction on the bench, or Matt Sundin's reaction on the bench, right? So they're kind of carrying over that tradition as well. But they're taking it though a little too far. I mean, some of it was just so puzzling. It's like I said, you see the Habs score, cut to a shot of Matthews. Why? Yeah. Why? What do you think he's going to do? Sit down and he's going to go, "Oh goody, they scored," or he's going to sit down and you're going to catch him say a bad word or something? We're going to actually hear him mouth when that goes in. Is that what you think you're going to see? I mean, what's the point? No, but come on. Yeah,
is he going to finally shave that mustache?
Oh my God, that mustache is friggin'. That just makes him look greasy. That gives him a real Ron Jeremy look.
I was just going to say, it's Ron Jeremy
really does.
Jr.
Those of us of a certain age. And that gives him that Ron Jeremy vibe. That's just, I'm like, it really is that a look you want to go for? I mean,
especially with his nickname.
Looking like an old porn star is one thing. Looking like a porn star is also a rapist. That's even worse.
With the nickname Big Poppy.
No, just Poppy.
Oh, is it just Poppy? I thought it was Big Poppy.
Daddy. His nickname is Daddy, for God's sakes. With that mustache. Matthews.
Matthews' nickname is Poppy.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So it's better than Captain Underpants. That's what Jack Todd calls him for his whole.
Yeah. Jack Todd calls him a lot of things.
Jack Dodd is a salty guy. Jack, and I like Jack. Don't get me wrong. I do. I don't agree with all his takes, but I do respect him. He's been in this business a long time.
I've never talked to Jack Todd, and I'm blocked for some reason. So.
And that's why I respect him.
Yeah, exactly. I've never even talked to the man before, and I was
maybe he mistook you for somebody else. I don't know.
We'll have to put him on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But Jack really, really doesn't like Austin Matthews or the coverage of the series whenever the Leafs are playing. So yeah. I can't say that he's fully wrong. I don't subscribe to every theory about it, but there is an obvious bias that's there. Yeah.
Now, to get back to the game, do you think that 2,500 people, that's going to be enough to give the Canadians that extra energy, that jump to actually step their game up to where it needs to be to beat the Leafs?
I would hope so. Because again, this is going to be their first time in 14 months that they're going to be playing towards any amount of fans, and I know that, and the Bell Center's huge. We've all been there. It's huge. And to be in there, even like when there's no fans in the stands, like when they're, whether it's when they're prepping for the draft or before a game or whatever. Yeah. It's like this big mausoleum. You just feel like, wow, a handful of fans, what difference are they going to make? But they're going to be loud. They're going to be really loud. And they're going to be, because how many times have you ever heard, you're a team's in an opposing team's arena, and some fans from the opposing team are there in this home arena, and they're making more noise than the home team.
Florida.
Yeah.
There's no fans for the home team in Florida.
I can tell you stories from back for the first game that I went to see when I was posted out in Esquimalt. This is in '89. Went over to Vancouver, the old Pacific Coliseum, and it was a Leafs game. We were there, a bunch of us were there, and there was like maybe 200 of us got tickets because we just pulled into port. It was just like doing a couple of weeks of workups, and we just pulled in for a couple of days in Vancouver, and we got tickets, 200 tickets. Hey, it was great. So we go and we're sitting up in the north corner of the building, right, watching the Leafs and the Canucks. And not all of us are Leafs fans, but we all just decided this is the only time I ever done this, got into the go Leafs go and all of this. And one of my friends whose father was Vancouver told him later and said over the broadcaster saying, yes, and there's a small but very vocal contingent of Leafs fans in the building tonight. You can almost drowning out there. Because the Canucks fans at that time, they were so quiet. And we're just, go Leafs, go. Just
200 drunken sailors can be loud?
Yeah, no, the devil you say. There was no beer going downrange at all that night. None. And no tequila shooters afterwards. None.
We did that at a Florida Panthers game with Pittsburgh versus Florida. And we had the Toronto, the Athabascan, and the Charlottetown all in Florida. And we all got free tickets to the games, like all the ships. We made up probably half of the crowd. No. And we were just, of course, cheering for Sidney Crosby and that. And I kept yelling out, Brian McCabe was on defense for Florida. And they were on the power play. And I kept yelling out, McCabe's never going to shoot. Quit passing it to him. He won't shoot. And this fan over there kept looking over at me going, yeah, he's right. And he never did. He never shot once.
Yeah. But to my point, yeah, I think having 2,500 people in there, they're going to be loud. They're going to be very supportive. And that could make a difference. It really could. Now, again, ultimately, if Toronto comes storming out with 2 quick goals, that could suck some of that energy out. But if Montreal comes out and plays that game that we saw, same style in Game 5, and are prepared for Toronto to come at them hard, hey, if Montreal takes, can you imagine Montreal takes a 2-goal lead in the first period? If the script repeats itself, can you imagine what that building's going to be like, even with just 2,500? So I think it could help give them a little bit of extra energy that maybe could put them over the top tonight.
If they do find some way to win tonight's game in front of some fans in Montreal and force a Game 7, I'm going to congratulate all the bar owners downtown in advance, because that city is going to explode.
Yeah.
Even under the COVID regulations that they're following now,
Yeah.
there's going to be groups going everywhere just to celebrate.
Yeah. And can I just say though, as well, very quickly here before I have to duck out, but if Montreal can pull this off, if they can actually win this series, guys, that's as close to Stanley Cup as we're going to get this year. That's our Stanley Cup. If they could actually beat the Leafs and extend the suffering of Leafs Nation for another year, if the Leafs blow this one, I mean, oh man, Steve Dangle's head's going to explode on national television because he's calling games now. He's, watch along with Steve. I checked out the stream afterwards when the Habs got that overtime goal and just his reaction. Oh no! Like you could just see it and just and you could just feel it's like here come the ghosts of playoff failures past. Woo! So I think that would, that would be our Stanley Cup. Again, this is me wearing my Habs hat, taking off as an unbiased journalist. It'd be like, well, now we get into what's Toronto going to do in the offseason.
But as it happens, like if that actually does happen, how long do you continue to roll this lineup that hasn't performed in the playoffs or possibly haven't done anything in the playoffs and move one of these big pieces to improve where you need it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If Toronto actually blows this, and I'm not expecting that they will, I think all of us are still expecting they're going to pull out a win here, and we're all as diehard Habs fans, we'll all be cheering for Montreal, but we're also reality-based. We live in the reality-based world. If Toronto actually blows this, there has to be a change somewhere. There has to be. Now, it doesn't mean that Austin Matthews gets traded. Doesn't mean Mitch Marner gets traded. Certainly doesn't mean William Nylander gets traded because he's been their best player in this series. I think he's silenced a lot of his critics. But somebody's got to go. There's going to have to be a change somewhere. Do you bring in a different coach? Do you get rid of Kyle Dubas in the front office? If you don't do that, who on the roster goes? Somebody. There has to be a change.
And it's got to be more than just beating the number 4 seed Montreal Canadiens. They have to make it to the Cup final.
Yeah.
If they don't make it that far, this team needs to change. Now, I'm kind of hoping that the Canadiens do beat them, like you said, because that would be Schadenfreude to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But if the Canadiens somehow did win, I would expect that would mean that Bergevin and Deschamps keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And I know there's a large contingent of Habs fans that are cheering against the team just for that reason. So
I personally think I think Bergevin keeps his job regardless. Myself, personally, I think Bergevin's keeping his job regardless whether they win or not. Ducharme, on the other hand, I think Bouchard, personally, I hope Joel Bouchard becomes the head coach next year, personally. And when it comes to the Leafs window is closing very shortly. Matthews' contract's up in 3 years, 2 years after this one, I believe. And they have all their money invested in their top 4 players. They have no goaltender after next year. So unless they think Jack Campbell's the real deal, which I have my doubts, then they're going to be hurting. I think they need to do something this year or next year, or they're done. They're back to rebuilding.
They would have to do a deep playoff run here. I mean, they don't have to win the Stanley Cup this year, but if they get to at least reach the semifinals, then they can turn around and say, look, see, now we're making progress. Now we're getting there. Okay. And they would be justified to say that. If I was a Leafs fan and that was what I was seeing from my team, then yes, absolutely. I'd be, okay, you got me. I'm all in with you now. But yeah, they get bounced this time again. Congratulations, you just became Washington Capitals 2010.
Yeah.
You become the Washington Capitals up until 2018, basically, because the Capitals for decades, not just in the Ovechkin era, for decades got hung with that label of choke artists because they could never get past the second round, and for Toronto, who haven't won a playoff series in 17 years, I mean, if this streak continues, good God, like something's got to change somewhere.
And I'm hoping the thing that does change is that people stop pointing to the Leafs and saying, look at how they built their team. That's how you do it. I'm sorry, but until you win something, that is not how you do it.
No.
The Leafs were 3 points from not making the playoffs last year before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Leafs last year were this super juggernaut team. And I believe they're only a super juggernaut team this year because of the division. They played the same teams over and over again. And I believe the North was a weak division. I don't know if it was the weakest, but I don't think it was a very strong division. So I would like to see the Leafs in a regular playoffs or a regular season just to see how good they really are.
Listen, guys, I hate to cut out on you so soon because I am enjoying the conversation, but yeah, I do have a deadline to me, couple of deadlines to me here in an hour, so I'm going to have to book up. But thanks for having me on, and let's definitely do this again. Maybe we can do it. Maybe if they win, they can do this, or maybe we can do a postseason kind of. Well, let's see what they can do after that. So,
well, Lyle, you're always welcome to come back whenever you can. We're proud to say that you're back with the Hockey News, and
I'm happy to be back with them. Yeah,
it's about time they came to their senses and brought you back on.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Lyle.
Take care.
And that was Lyle Richardson of the Hockey News, aka Spector's Hockey. You can find his work at Spector's Hockey, and now at the Hockey News as well. So yeah, that was a good 40-minute conversation with Lyle. And for our longtime listeners, you'll notice that Lyle is a regular contributor to Habs Unfiltered, and we appreciate every minute that he's given us over the years. So again, thank you for coming on the show, Lyle. We really appreciate that. And now, between the three of us, let's what are we going to do? Who are we going to go after in this show?
For me, I'm not going to say I'm going to go after anybody, but you're going into Game 6. You're going into Game 6 in Montreal. You're going to have fans in the stands, and for me, this is when your big. This is when your names have to. They have to step up, and I'm talking about guys like Danault, Gallagher, Petrie, etc. All these guys. They play the big minutes. They haven't put up any points. And even the Habs defense, and not in the Habs defense, but the Habs defense, not a single point in the series between any of them.
I personally think Danault's not playing a bad series. He's just he's shutting the Matthews line down.
Oh, which is good. Which is good, but with the power play opportunities that Tatar and that Gallagher gets, and I know that Gallagher's playing injured. I know that you said that Tatar's not a playoff performer. Completely agree with that. But right now, like I brought up Armia, Armia right now is your top point producer, and I know that most of those points came in one game. But when you look down the lineup, it's been spread out, but it's been spread out from the wrong players. The players that you expect to come into play aren't showing up. And we need that Jeff Petrie that we saw from the start of the season. I know Weber's playing injured, but we need to see a little bit more offense from him. We need to see depth, and we need to see scoring. Like you look at the Vegas game last night. There was scoring all through that lineup. And it was mostly their 5-6 defense and their third line down that really came to play last night.
Denmark with a hat trick.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Eric Stahl has 2 points. That puts him second on the team in points.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about how Eric Stahl.
Yeah, he might not be the most.
Shouldn't even be playing.
He might not be the player that we've noticed the most, but Corey Perry, they're putting points in. And they're doing it more than the others.
You're asking a lot of a team that doubled its goal scoring in one game.
Yeah.
They really need to, if they want to have any hope whatsoever winning this game tonight and extending the series, they have to play just as good, if not better, than what they did in Game 5.
Yep.
And we definitely need to see more out of Jeff Petrie, who has 0 points, and he is the Canadiens' top defenseman. He is their top puck mover. He is their top minute guy. He is their top defenseman. He played a much better game in Game 5. He was physical. He moved the puck well, but he didn't score any points. What we need to see out of him is what we saw in last year's bubble where he stepped up against the Penguins. We know he has it in him because he did it then. He needs to bring that tonight. That is what's been missing.
Yeah,
is
I
that
totally
little
agree.
extra from all the top guys.
I mean, if you look down the roster, Toffoli has no goals, 2 assists. Anderson has just the 1 goal from game 1. And it's not that Anderson's played, not that any of them played bad. It's just they're not scoring. Leafs
They
are
haven't-
finding a way to. I mean, Caulfield has the 1 point in 3 games. Tatar got 1 point. Weber 0. Sherratt or Gallagher 0. Deneau 0. Petrie 0. Lehkonen 0. It's just a whole list. This team misses Jonathan Drouin. This is what this team misses because Jonathan Drouin could transition the game for the offense, and they miss a guy like him.
He's the type of player that can break a trap. So the big trap that's been going on the Canadiens against the Canadiens now for the last 5 games, Toronto's done well. They have played their system well, and Drouin's. We can debate his effectiveness overall, but one area of his game that works very well is he can break through a trap because he does controlled zone exits and entries well. In the neutral zone, he's one of the better players that the Canadiens have had.
And I think him lined up with Suzuki and Caulfield, you have yourself an offensive line. You have a line that's going to break through the defense and get you high scoring chance. Caulfield, I think, Blaine, you said in the first game had an 80% XGF.
It was over 80%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. And I believe on all 3 games, he's been over 60%. So, and if I will admit, Ducharme's playing that line. They are the top minute getting line on the ice. So it's not like he's not playing them, but I don't know. He hasn't even put out the best Montreal team yet. He has not put out the best lineup that he has yet. And by saying that, Jake Evans and Alexander Romanov, I think, should play tonight, and they need to play tonight for this team's to propel forward.
Because
I don't think they will, but I think they should.
Because those 2 players will bring exactly what the Canadiens need to push the Leafs. They bring speed and they bring defensive awareness. They can also generate offense in transition. Lyle said it at the beginning of the show. If you need a player who can hit, make an excellent first pass, defend well, and get pucks on net, why are you sitting him? That's Alexander Romanov. That's his entire game. Yes, he's going to make a couple of mistakes, but let's look at this lineup throughout this series. Where in this lineup has anyone played error-free hockey?
Caulfield.
Okay.
No,
but anyone that would take his spot.
Especially on the defense. Merle and Gustafson. If Ducharme thinks he's going to win with Merle and Gustafson and not Romanov, then Ducharme is not a head coach in the NHL. I'm sorry.
Take Gustafson out. Put him in.
Yeah. Or if you want more offense, why don't you put Gustafson and Romanov in? Hello.
Or
Merle's
Kulak.
not going to. Or Kulak and Romanov. Kulak and Romanov made a good defensive pair in the regular season. Put him in as a third pairing. I would personally split up Sherratt and Weber and have a PMD, or what we have as a PMD, with a stay-at-home guy, like I've been saying all year, and what they did in game 1. And I would have, Edmondson, Petrie, Romanov, Weber, and Kulak and Sherratt.
Or Romanov Sherratt, because that pairing did well in the regular season.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Balance it out a little bit. Provide more mobility, more puck movement with a good defensive responsibility. That's Kulak and Romanov do bring that in spades in comparison to Gustafson and Merrill.
Yeah.
And then you look up front with Evans. If Evans is available, he definitely should be back in. He was, down the stretch, one of the better Montreal Canadiens, bar none.
And if you want to talk about taking guys out, and I hate to say this, but take out
Tatar.
I don't know. You could take out anyone. Tatar. You could take out Byron if you want to. I mean, Byron hasn't played great. He hasn't played terrible, but he hasn't. He had that one game-winning goal. But I wouldn't take out Eric Stahl. I don't think Eric Stahl's
Nope.
had a bad playoffs. I would keep Eric Stahl in.
I wouldn't
think
touch
for
that
what
line.
he's doing on that fourth line, I wouldn't touch that line either. But I would take
That line
Tatarot,
was
put
very
Evans in,
effective.
and have him play the wing. That's what I would do.
That last game, that
Yeah.
line was
Evans playing the
extremely
wing.
effective.
Yeah. And I have no issue with that line of Perry, Stahl, and was it Armia? Perry, Stahl, and Armia, because Anderson moved up.
The
on
other part to bringing
third
these
line.
guys back into the lineup is they're in Montreal. They have the last change. There is literally no excuse for not bringing him in now. Romanov, that is.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And I mean, I haven't seen the lineup changes yet from this morning.
Well, as we record,
they just went
it's,
on the ice at 11, so our time, so 10 Eastern.
yeah, they're about to get on the
Um,
ice. It's a 10:30 Eastern
yeah.
time, so they're about to step on the
Yeah.
ice as we're recording. The lineup, the expected lineup is going to be let kind of slip probably in about 2 hours time. As we're recording, it's 11 a.m. Atlantic time. So probably around lunchtime Eastern, we're going to have
Yeah.
a good idea of what's going to be out there. We're
Yeah,
just
our
making
good-
our assumptions based on previous movements and our expectations from Dom Ducharme. And I'm not expecting much. I fully expect him to stay with the lineup he has, which I think would be a mistake.
I think he's going to stay with the lineup he had in the last win. I think Gustafsson and Merle will both come in on the third line, and he's going to play Gustafsson. Basically, what he did with Gustafsson and Merle the last time is just they didn't really play together that often. He paired them off with other defensemen, and depending on the situation, depended on who he put out or who he didn't put out. I don't mind that idea, but in the end, you got to, with Kulak and Romanov, you don't have to try to pair them with someone up to help their game. You can just put them out and say, all right, boys, you're the third pair, go. And, if he wants the PK to change, put Sherratt and Weber together on the PK. Perfect. That doesn't bother me at all. Edmondson and Petrie, or Sherratt and Weber on the PK. Romanov and Sherratt and Kulak and Weber on a regular 5-on-5. Good enough.
You can even try Romanov on the power play. I mean,
Why not?
his ability to get pucks on net, the way Campbell kicks out rebounds, I think that would fit really well. He may not score on his shot, but the puck will get there. Campbell will give up a rebound. If you have people that are actually in front of the net, which has been a downfall for the Canadiens for the majority of this series, Game 5 they did it fairly well in comparison to the rest of the series. If they have someone in front of the net, that shot gets on Campbell. Campbell kicks the rebound out. There's a scoring chance. You don't have to have a blistering slap shot to get offense going on a power play.
But however, you do have to have players going to the net. And that's another thing that they don't have on the power play. If you're going to use Romanov on the power play to do that, then you got to put Gallagher and Perry or whoever that slot in that
Anderson,
net front.
anyone going to the net.
Anyone going to the net and to pick up that rebound. And I mean, if they play like they did in the first period last night, they were going to the net, they were creating traffic, they were creating offense, if they play like that for a full 60, there's no reason why they should lose. None. However, they don't play it for a full 60, and you get what you had last game.
Now, before this series began, I had the Canadiens losing to the Leafs in 7 games. And that's still a very good possibility. But they got to win tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that so that they can make my prediction correct. I want to see the Canadiens win tonight to give a reward to the fans that are there. Fans have waited almost 15 months to be in the arena cheering on their team. Now, I know there's going to be people in Toronto, our new Leaf followers. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. We appreciate all the trolling. We love you too. But I know there's going to be some of them that are going to complain that, well, it's unfair that Montreal has fans and Toronto doesn't. It's some kind of unfair advantage. And to that I say, I blame Doug Ford. Each province has its own regulations. Quebec, thankfully, is able to progress to the point where they're allowing 11% capacity at the Bell Center. It may be an advantage to the Canadiens, which I'm kind of hoping it is. I'm hoping that's enough to kind of spark something, because Toffoli's article in the Player Tribune talked about wanting to come to Montreal to play in front of those rabid fans during the playoffs. He's going to get something close to that atmosphere now. So maybe this jumpstarts the Canadiens a little bit. Maybe.
It's going to go one of two ways, and you mentioned it already. If the Leafs get ahead early, it's going to go dead quiet, and it's going to work against the Habs.
Yeah.
If the Habs get ahead early, it's going to ignite the atmosphere, ignite the team, and so the first 10 minutes of this hockey game is going to dictate how this hockey game is going to go, in my opinion. So I think that the Habs have an extra motivation with fans I don't think it's a burden. I think it's more of a motivation with fans in the arena. I just read a thing here. Friedman and them were talking about how it could be a hindrance for Montreal. And of course I lost it, but Sportsnet. Oh, here it is. Sportsnet. There'd be more pressure on the Habs due to fans being in the building, and Toronto has something to look forward to because Tavares is skating and could play in Game 7.
If that's not the most Leaf-centric reporting,
100%.
It's a
100%.
downfall for a team to have its own fans.
Yeah, they're saying it could be, affect the Habs negatively because they're under pressure playing in front of their fans.
Would you say that if it's Montreal going into Toronto and Toronto is able to get 2,500 fans to a game, would they be saying
They
that
won't
at
say
that
that.
point?
No, they'd be bowing
won't.
down, and they probably put a reporter in front of every fan and ask them what they thought of Austin Matthews.
That was from Friedman, Bieska, and Rudy. That's what they were talking about.
That is such horseshit. If a team has its own fans coming into a game and you're the underdog and you have fans in the stands, that is not a detriment. If the script was flipped and Montreal was the massive favorites going into Toronto and Toronto had its fans showing up, that would be touted as a huge advantage, go for it, blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of crap that you keep pointing out coming out of Toronto. This is why people are disenchanted with the national, quote unquote, coverage coming out of Sportsnet. Now, we love Eric Engels, clearly, and Friedman is normally he is one of the best, but that
No, it doesn't say
idea-
Friedman said that. It just says that there are three talking.
So I watched this last night as I watched this was during the Vegas game. The only thing that they said positive about the Canadiens last night, or possibly positive about the Canadiens, is that they might have some sort of energy. And I think that was what David Amber said. Other than that, it was John Tavares. This could be a negative. This could be a negative. John Tavares, Austin Matthews, go Leafs, go. I don't think it's going to help, et cetera, right? And it was for them to be winning, for Vegas to be winning Game 7, and them just to be like, let's talk about the Leafs. I think it was a little bit much, but
which again points to national coverage.
yeah.
How come no one's talking about Winnipeg? Still talking about how Winnipeg destroyed Edmonton.
Yeah.
With virtually no defense.
Yeah.
Held McDavid almost pointless for 4 games. Virtually, they have no defense. Their defense is terrible.
But they held McDavid and Draisaitl.
But they held McDavid and
Draisaitl.
Right. And I mean, granted, they have Hellebuck, but still, my point is that should be the talk. Even though the series is over, that's something they should still be talking about.
Yep.
And no one's talking about the fact that if Winnipeg can shut down Draisaitl and McDavid, and Montreal can shut down Marner and Matthews. Well, let's be honest. Everybody in the playoffs shuts down Marner, but then why can't Winnipeg?
It's true. That's true. And Hellebuck played lights out. He played phenomenal.
That's looking ahead to a possibility that Toronto wins.
I mean, Winnipeg won't be able to beat Montreal, but they certainly can beat the Leafs.
And that's just the thing. That's my biggest complaint with the coverage. Why aren't they covering all the other teams in Canada? Like you're a Canadian company, cover all of them.
If it's a Toronto game that night, which usually
Sure.
it is on Sportsnet on Saturday,
Yeah.
sure, cover Toronto. Talk about Toronto, but also talk about, I don't know, the team they're playing, like Edmonton or Winnipeg or Vancouver or Montreal or Ottawa. Pretty sure there's 2 teams in Ontario.
You'd think. But this is, back to the whole fans in the stands being a detriment. When has that ever been a talking point for any coverage anywhere in any sport? Oh crap!
Sportsnet.
Our fans are here. This is going to suck. Like, come on.
Can we not have fans, please? Can we just send them away? Make them watch
Having our
inside?
fans in the stands, like you hear this from players all the time. Having our fans in the stands really hurt us. We don't need that extra support. We hate having people there cheering us on. It is really a detriment.
Too much pressure. Too much pressure on us to play.
I didn't see the segment, so I'm not going to point fingers at anyone. I'm just going to repeat that Friedman is normally one of the best in the business. But if this was the major talking point that they were discussing, why didn't anyone just reach out and slap each other on this? Because especially Rudy, he played in the NHL. He should know better.
But Rudy's a little bit of a...
I like Kelly Rudy.
Closet Leaf fan.
No, I don't think he's a closet Leaf fan. I don't mind Kelly Rudy either, but I do find I truly believe the Sportsnet people have a script. I think Sportsnet comes out and says, you must talk about this, 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 and this in a positive way.
This conspiracy, I'm tired of hearing it. It's not like the people who own Sportsnet also own the Leafs.
Yeah,
they do. Wait, they do. They do.
And this is my point. And we've been fueling this conspiracy for a few days now. And I'm probably one of the top people because I'm tired of it. I'm an English speaking Canadians fan. For me to watch TVI would be like, what I'm trying to do is sync my TV with Dan Roberts and TSN 690. It's not working very well, but I watch sports and I don't enjoy the game. I can't enjoy the game. I can't enjoy the intermissions because it's all Leafs. All they talk about is Leafs. They got Ron McLean, who I don't even know why he still has a job. They got Biesca. They got the girl's name. I forget her name now.
Jennifer Botterill.
They got they got their former NHLers and all they talk about, they say, all right, well, yeah, Montreal don't get me wrong. It's not they don't talk about Montreal, but Montreal did this, Montreal did that. But Matthews, Marner, Riley, Campbell, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, shut up. Like, just, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, and none of the entire panel, none of them have anything educational or anything worth listening to. None of them.
All right. We've
rant.
banged that drum quite a bit.
The new Treg Wilson type Steve Dangle Habs show will start on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was Treg Wilson's Steve Dangle impersonation.
He has to get closer to the camera, though.
Yeah, and scream.
Yeah.
You got to scream more. If you do that, maybe Sportsnet will hire you on to.
I just bashed them.
Now, Matt, you've been absent from the show for a little while. We understand because you don't. We drag you down. I get it. Before we go, because it's about that time, do you have anything to say about tonight's game?
I'm just hoping for I have missed the last 3 games due to we'll call them operational commitments. And if you guys obviously follow me on Twitter, you've seen some of the work that my squadron's been doing the last little while. So you can excuse my absence. I'm just hoping for a team that's going to come out with energy, and I'm hoping that these fans are going to be able to spark players that we brought in as playoff performers or guys that play with energy. And I'm really hoping for big games out of guys like Josh Anderson and Toffoli, and the defense comes to play, and it isn't one-sided for one team. And the Canadians can push this to Game 7, and let's really make something that these fans can cheer about.
All right. Treg, last thought.
I spoke enough. I'm done.
Okay. And before we go, I want to take this moment to pass on to our American siblings in arms a thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your sacrifice on this Memorial Day weekend. As members of the Canadian Armed Forces, the three of us understand what it takes to serve in the military. And our allies down in the United States, we work with you closely, and we appreciate everything you've done. We help you, you help us. We are a team. We are allies. We're all siblings in arms. So thank you for your sacrifice and your service on this Memorial Day weekend. And with that, I want to also thank everyone who has listened to us. Old and new listeners, we welcome them all. We love having you, interacting with you. The more of you, the better. Please be sure to use our promo code unfiltered20 at builtbar.com to save 10% off your purchase. And the same promo code unfiltered20 gets you 20% off at East Coast Lifestyle. And remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.